Well, we just heard from Denise that faith is good for you. And I think you're going to see in this story that for Ellen Graf-Martin, faith was life-shaping, perhaps even life-saving. We're just talking here, and Ellen, welcome. You're saying you're the kind of person that even as a little girl, you were going to do it yourself.
I'll do it, yeah. I was happy to say, I'll do it.
You grew up in a good, loving home in Nanaimo, BC.
Nanaimo, BC, Vancouver Island.
You lucky girl.
Yes, yes.
Can't complain coming from Vancouver Island. I'm holding in my hand something that'll be familiar to, I don't know, do they still get to give these out in the school?
I think that they,
Can they still do it? The Gideon New Testament. Yeah. I think mine had a hardcover many, many moons ago. But this gift became a significant part of your story.
Mm-hmm. When they gave me one in elementary school, I was a very gifted reader. My mom had taught me to read as a young child, so I didn't have to take English class anymore in school. So I would go to the library and read instead of taking English class. And so when they gave me my Gideon New Testament, I had read through most of the books in the school library, so I was reading through my New Testament. And I had known some of the truths from going to Boys and Girls Club and missionettes as a little girl and going to Sunday school, and all of the truths came together. And when I read the prayer of salvation at the end of my New Testament, I don't know if they still have the same prayer. It was the prayer of salvation.
My commitment, right on the back page.
I remember reading that and thinking to myself, well, I agree with that, and I agree with that, and I believe in that, and yes, that's true. And I remember signing my name in that little, I was probably 10 years old, 11 years old, but I remember that. It was pivotal for me in the school library.
What a great story. Interesting that you were such an avid reader so early. But this story takes a bit of a twist into that dark storm that was in my Alberta picture at the beginning of the hour. What happened?
In my teen years, my dad actually got sick and had congestive heart failure and was dying. We were told he had 3 to 5 years to live. And unfortunately, we had some troubles in our church as well. And so our family had left the church with a kind of ugly situation surrounding it. And so I just fell away. I didn't think of God as an option anymore. I knew him, and I knew that I had been called to ministry when I was a little girl. I knew it, but I just thought, God just isn't working for us anymore. He's not an option. He'd been an option the rest of my life. But when I was a teenager, it just fell away.
Dear, and reading your story, you say you became so broken, so desperate, at the bottom of a dark pit, and I knew that I had thrown myself right into it in my search for identity. Father's so tied to your identity and destiny. And then God, you thought, wasn't a good option.
Hadn't worked for us, it didn't seem, and it didn't seem like it had been consistent. I knew that I was called to ministry, but I didn't know what that meant. And the tradition I grew up in, only men were ministers, so what did that mean for me? Could I even minister to someone? Did I get God's call wrong?
So you're really lost, no foundation. Where did this lead?
It led to searching out a lot of different options, trying to find anything. It led to, in university, just trying to be the fun girl who was always ready to go to a party and always ready to have a good time. And underneath, it was pretty fake. It wasn't really who I was. I love having a good time. I am always enthusiastic and ready for a party, but I was looking for identity. I just wanted to figure out who I was.
You got into some New Age stuff in there?
Well, those were the options. On Vancouver Island, the percentage of Christians is really small, and there are a lot of New Age options open to you, of self-help options. And so I was starting to explore. I just knew I needed something. I had to have something, and I didn't know what it was.
Where did that take you?
That ended up, oddly, taking me back to church. One Sunday morning, I woke up, and I'm sure my mother was in shock. My family hadn't been to church in years and years. And I came downstairs, and my mom just sitting there, and I came down, and I said, "Mom, I think we should go to church this morning." My mom's very quiet and quite reserved. Well, your father won't go with us. And I said, well, that's okay. We'd never been to church without my dad before. This is a family thing. This is what families do. And I said, well, that's okay. We can just go. Oh, well, okay. So my mom and I went to church, and it was probably, I don't know, she was probably sensing that I was desperate, and she was my mom. She never criticized, but she knew what was going on. In her heart of hearts, in her mother heart, she knew. And I think she probably needed hope too. It was her husband was dying. I was in university at this time, and we went to church, and in this little old church that I had grown up in, I had been baptized in, there was a little bulletin, and at the very bottom it said there was a mission trip to Haiti. Well, I didn't really know what a mission trip was, and I didn't know how to pronounce Haiti either. And I didn't know the person arranging it in a church of maybe 100 people, but I was going to go. And I looked at my mother, who's very reserved and always very cautious, and I said, Mom, I need to do that. And she said, yes, you do. That was a shock to me. So we got in the car, and I knew that that's what I was supposed to do.
Do we have a picture of a young Ellen
On a
mission?
Very young, yes.
This is in Haiti.
Yeah.
And they had a natural disaster at this, which
This was different. That was a different time. And
Okay.
in Haiti we went, and I volunteered with a group from a brand new church I had started, or no, actually this is before I started at that church, from a different church I'd never heard of before. And this group was pulled together, and we went and did a dental mission, actually. I wasn't a dentist, of course, but I could brush teeth and play with kids, so that's what I did.
I think you got some encouragement from the local Christian bookstore. Interesting, that connection very early in your renewed journey.
I came back from Haiti, and I wanted to be a missionary. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to finish up university, and I'm going to head off to Bible college, because that's what good Christians do, is they go to Bible college. And I was going to study cross-cultural missions. And meanwhile, this ship was coming to Nanaimo. It's a harbor town. A ship was coming. I didn't know much about it. I knew it was this mission thing, and they needed volunteers. But I had a plan, because I was a planner. I will do it myself. I had a plan. And I had enrolled in Bible college. Yeah, it sounded great. I had to go and earn money to pay for school. But someone said, well, why don't you volunteer? I went to the Christian bookstore. Yeah, I didn't want to volunteer. And I went in, I was paying for my things. I spent a lot of money at that Christian bookstore. And the lady behind the till said, did you know that they're looking for volunteers on that mission ship? I really think that you should try. And I thought, oh, brother, okay, I'll do it. So I volunteered on board that ship.
Proverbs 16:9 says, in his heart, can we change it? In her heart, a woman plans her course, but the Lord determines her steps.
That is the story of my life.
Why was this so right for you? Going on a ship and sailing off instead of going to Bible school?
You know, I didn't know that it was right for me, but God confirmed that it was right for me. Does that make sense? I was driving home from volunteering one day, and I had to pull my car over on the side of the road because I was weeping, because I knew that if I didn't go, I would be being disobedient to God. And it didn't make sense. My dad was dying. My dad was only supposed to live another year. It didn't make any sense to me. But God let me know that I was supposed to go. I just knew that I knew that I knew that I was supposed to go. So that started a battle in my heart, but I knew I had to go.